All right, so welcome to the CETL webinar of creating ways of dealing with disruption in the classroom. As I said, my name is Dr. Pamela Worsley with the CETL at Georgia State Perimeter College. So this is a very timely workshop. First of all, I hope everyone is safe. We just had a tornado watch here and had to get into the stairwell for a few minutes. So I hope everyone is sheltered and safe. But we are in the right place wherever you are with your computer, so we can participate in this. So disruption in the classroom, this has become a quite popular topic of late. And I just wanted to let you know, it's not just happening in your class. I know sometimes we feel kind of isolated, but it's not just happening in your class. There are many articles written by college faculty that really indicate, you know, we teach in college and we feel that there should be a level of maturity and a level of self-control, at least for our students, but sometimes that is not the case. And so college faculty members don't feel like they need to discipline their students, so to speak, as if they were in high school or even in a lower grade. And so sometimes we feel like, do we really have to deal with this, you know, in a college where students should at least be adult age. And also, many college faculty really don't have that former experience of having to discipline students. So if you had never taught in a high school, if college is the only level you've taught, you know, you won't really be that familiar with disciplining students at the high school level. But unfortunately, we must all engage in some type of discipline at some, you know, at some point. So I have a little question here, the what would you do game. I don't know if any of you ever watched the show, but I do. What would you do? And it's always interesting to see when people are not looking, when people don't think anyone is looking, what they would do. So pretend this is your classroom, and I'm going to ask you to respond as soon as we finish watching a little clip. And you can either respond by clicking your talk button or chatting in the chat window. So what would you do in this case? All right, let's see if the video plays.
Why always do buildings? Like, it's always the same thing.
Because we graduated from doing landscapes that are natural and organic that have no man-made disruption.
But we were shown this in the first few weeks, and we were shown this 3 years ago. We're in our third year. Shouldn't it be something just new? Shouldn't it be something? It could be a part of the curriculum, but it should be something new. I've had like no other teacher that repeats and repeats and repeats.
I'm sorry, I'm the only guy here.
Yeah,
We're so lucky.
There's nothing you can do.
So that wasn't quite the response that I think is appropriate, but I'll just be, so this is a student that's kind of challenging the professor. And he might have a legitimate claim or might not, but you know, what would you do basically, and I'm sure all of us may have had this student in our class that just, you know, keeps on talking, challenging whatever it is you're doing, and disrupting the class. So anyone, just go ahead and click your talk button. What would you do?
Reviewing materials before is important.
All right, I see Kathy left a response, you know, saying reviewing levels, reviewing, you know, things that you've done before is important. So that's a good point. So I guess, you know, you could try to address it with the student. Somebody's not on mute. I'm hearing you typing, whoever is typing. Or if you want to talk, you can go ahead and talk because your mic is open. I think that's Amanda or Carissa. No. Sorry. Maybe Cindy or Amin. Yes, you stopped typing though.
Oh, okay. I can turn my microphone on. I'm sorry, it was off. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Who's
Okay. This is Cindy.
Okay.
I would ask him to bring his personal opinion to me after class, and we can discuss it at that time. And then when I talk to him, I'll tell him that that was inappropriate for the classroom discussion should be about the content and not about his opinion on how I run the class.
Yeah, that's a really good response, especially because you want to continue, the class for other students. I mean, other students want to learn too. That not the only student, in your class that wants to learn. So that's a really good way to look at it as well. So thank you for sharing that with us. So that's one.
Yeah, but there's something you can do.
Okay, I stopped it. So yeah, thanks for your feedback on that. So let's move on. All right, so disruptions. What do you consider a disruption? This is just a list of some that may be disruptions to some people, and it may not be. But some of these are pretty universal. Rude remarks, we just saw something similar to that. Excessive tardiness or consistent tardiness, students coming in late all the time, walking across the classroom, of course, foul language, and in online classes, disruptions in online conversations and discussions. Excuse me, loud or prolonged side conversations, distractions with your electronics, people with earbuds. I've had that as a real issue. Some of the students in class having earbuds in, not paying attention, and things like that. So anybody have any other common disruptions that you've been noticing lately? They can come in all sorts of forms and fashions, but yeah, playing on their computers, that's true. Or on their cell phones, and that's not just distracting them from paying attention in class, but sometimes the person sitting behind them or sitting to the side of them, they can also see that screen, even on the cell phone, and so that becomes distracting to other students in the class. So basically, you want to make sure that your classroom is a comfortable learning environment for everyone, not just, for the student who is being distracted or doing the distraction. So what's really important in your classroom? I just have a brief list here. I'm sure it's not exhaustive, but safety and security for me is number one, and a comfortable learning environment. I want every single one of my students to know that I want them to learn, I want them to be here, I want them to stay in the class and be successful. Also, equitable treatment of students. You really want to make sure that it doesn't appear that you're favoring one group of students or one student or anything of the sort. You really want to give everyone a great learning opportunity in your classroom. And I am insistent on an atmosphere of mutual respect. I give respect, I expect to get respect, and I think sometimes we as faculty, I hate to say it, but sometimes we miss that reciprocal activity of respect. Of course, we expect that students will respect us, but we also have to know that we have to respect our students. I think that is really, really important, and like I said, sometimes we miss that, or we forget that even though they're students, they need to be respected as well. And I put fun with a question mark, maybe. I teach biology. It can be fun. It really can be fun. Cindy teaches math, and Carissa teaches English and literature, and Tracy teaches ESL. So, but I do want them to want to come to class. I want them to feel like it is kind of fun to learn in school. I just do, because if not, I think they'll be turned off. Anybody else? What's your top kind of, what's most important in your class? You can unmute yourself and talk, or chat in the type window. Type in the chat window. So the question is, what's one of your most important things in your classroom that you just absolutely must have in your class? Okay, Ammon says to obey the instructions of the class. Okay. Students feeling comfortable participating, very important as well. Participation, again, from Cindy, very, very important. That's right. Students have to have some ownness for their own learning. They absolutely must. Right, and Ammon, that's a good point, to define the kind of ground rules. I'm going to get to that in a little bit of the class from the jet, from the beginning. And so when you're dealing with, or when you're thinking about dealing with disruptions in the classroom, I think that prevention is better than cure. And so Ammon kind of hit on it there on laying the foundation. You know, how are you going to conduct your class? What's really important? And I think you must be crystal clear on your expectations on the first day. Now, this does not mean, you know, when they come in to start laying down the law like the sheriff with, you know, with a stern voice and not even a smile on your face. So it's important to also be, oh, sorry, wait, how do I go back? It's important to lay the foundation. However, you do also have to let them know that, you know, you're a human being, and here's what you are going to expect them to do. And I also like it to be balanced with what you are going to do. So don't just say, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do the other. Say, and here's what I am going to do to help you to be successful. So I think having that, again, reciprocal activity is very important. Carissa, oh yes, Carissa commented also that she thinks it's important to learn to make connections between what they're learning in class and in their lives. And of course, that can't happen if, you know, that can't happen if there's disruption. So that's an absolutely great point. So yeah, back to kind of laying the foundation, you really have to set your expectations, set them clearly on day one, which leads me to the second point of being firm but flexible. In other words, like I said, don't just come in, you know, like the sheriff and you have to do this and this is, I don't do this and that and the other. Be firm, but also be flexible. Know that life happens. Life happens to each of us, including your students. I like to give them the benefit of the doubt at least the first time, and then we kind of go from there. Also, if you can, allow your students to participate in the expectation setting. In other words, why are they here? What do they want to get out of this class? You know, that discussion on the first day shows them that you are invested in them, that it's not just all about you. Showing your passion for the craft. I think this is really important. When they see that you love what you do and you want them to be successful, they're usually pretty excited about it. I laugh sometimes because when I'm talking about, you know, my particular area of research in my classroom, the students are so amazed that I'm excited about immunology. They're like, oh my gosh, she is not normal. She's really excited about this science stuff. But at least they see, gosh, she thinks this is really important. Okay, let me see what she's talking about. The next point is to be human or humane, really. Like I said, life happens, so, you know, try to be a little flexible with some of your rules, and know what to do in case of an emergency. This is so important. We never think we're going to need it until we need it. I have entered the GSU police emergency number in my cell phone. I have it memorized, actually. It's 404-413-3333. So it's real easy to remember. But definitely have that available. There's phones in each classroom. When you pick it up, you can get to the security if you need to, but if not, you can also dial it from your cell phone. And lastly, you know, expect the unexpected. I think that kind of goes without saying, but you know, you never know. So expect the unexpected. When you have a disruption in the classroom, there's several things you can do. First, you can ignore it, which is not a good idea. That's really not a viable option. Yes, Cindy, I'm going to get to your question in 1 minute. It's at the end of the presentation. I have some links to the policies, disruptive behaviors, and things like that, and how you can respond. But anyway, when you are faced with a disruption in your classroom, ignoring it is really not a viable option. Not only are you, not addressing the issue, but the other students who are there to learn feel like, you're kind of shortchanging them. And when handled correctly, really, conflict can be a powerful learning tool depending on, what you're talking about. In the video that we looked at the beginning, Cindy made a great point, asking the student to see her after class, but also addressing the actual content, not just the student's, opinion of the teaching style, but the content, which is what you want the student to really get to. Exercise your best judgment when you're setting standards. Again, like I said, try not to be too rigid. Try to realize that life happens and students are people, just like you are. And put the ground rules in your syllabus. That is so very important. And if you have to change it, issue an addendum. Of course, we put it on D2L on iCollege, and you can, post your addendums there, but make sure that the students sign off that they have seen, read and seen the syllabus and the addendum. I'll talk a little bit about kind of having a more effective syllabus a little bit later too. Model correct behavior. Oh my gosh, this is so important. So if you don't expect students to cut you off in the middle of a sentence, don't cut them off in the middle of a sentence, or each other, right? If you don't expect students to be tardy, please be on time. All of these things sound like really, no-brainers, but sometimes we don't pay as much attention to that as we should, modeling correct behavior. And then, of course, command class attention. That's really important as well. So these are just some really low-level, kind of easy things that you can do. Signal the beginning of class clearly and consistently. So some people have a routine, at the beginning of class they might give out their name tags, or they might have a little quiz checker or something that lets the students know, okay, we're going to start now. Of course, when they come in, they might be chit-chatting or doing whatever, which is normal. You want them to have that kind of sense of community, but make sure you signal that class is going to start now. Don't just start, lecturing while the students are still kind of getting settled down. I already said kind of define the ground rules, but try to be flexible. What I like about this particular point is if you provide a brief rationale for your rules, which focuses, on what you expect from the students, this kind of helps them to understand why you're saying that. In other words, it's not just because you want to be a meanie, or you want to be hard, that you are demanding this, this, and this. Tell them why you expect them to do those things, and that usually goes over a little bit better. I talked a little bit about redesigning your syllabus. Tracy Justice does a great syllabus redesign workshop, so next time it comes around, I really encourage you to take advantage of it. But it talks about not just redesigning the physical look of your syllabus to look more like either kind of like infographic or kind of like a newsletter or something that somebody will actually want to read. I know I don't want to read my own syllabus. It's long, it's black and white, it's linear, it's just straight down the page. Of course, I have to tell them everything that's in there, but I could probably redesign it in such a way that they would actually read at least half of it. So, redesigning it, putting the important things up front, and making it more conversational than kind of bullet points, do this, this, and that, usually will help the students to be able to read it a little bit more. They'll be more likely to read it. Another great idea is to give students a non-disruptive outlet for their concerns. They always want to talk. Students always want to tell you what they think. They think they know better than you probably, but give them a way to do that. You can do it really easily online with iCollege. Open up a discussion board. Have a thread for questions or comments or concerns. of course, you would need to moderate that, because you don't want people just posting, you know, things just to bellyache about X, Y, or Z. So you would need to kind of moderate a little bit, but give them something like that. If you are in a face-to-face class, you can also do it on D2L, or you can just kind of have an exit box where they can kind of do like a 1-minute paper or something. You know, what did you really understand from today? What did you not understand? Is there something that, you know, you would like me to do more of, etc. So give them a non-disruptive outlet for expressing themselves, and that might cut down on disruption, on them just kind of, you know, blurting out in the middle of class. We already talked about modeling correct behavior, like, you know, showing up on time. If you want them to turn in their assignments on time, guess what? Turn back their assignments on time. You know, when you say you're going to do it, you know, try to stick to that. Again, faculty, I find that sometimes we set the bar really high for students, but when it comes to us, we have, you know, life happens, but we don't expect life to happen to the students, although it does, right? So we have to keep that in mind as well. And of course, if you expect students to come to your office hours, please be there. All right, now one of my colleagues did this, and I found this really, really interesting. Consider giving part of your participation grade, or instead of calling it a participation, call it a professionalism grade. I mean, of course, this was a business professor, so it kind of fit, but it could fit anywhere. So, for example, are they showing up to class on time? Of course, this is all participation, right? And we can give participation grades. Are they there on time? Are they prepared? Are they respectful of other students, you know, in discussions and things like this? All of this is really participation, but if you call it professionalism and let them know that you expect them to act professionally in your class, I think that raises the bar a little higher for them to expect that and to expect to receive it. Of course, you have to be willing to treat them like professionals as well. So I really liked that one particular point. Cindy talked about this a little earlier. Ask the student who consistently disrupts the class to see you after class, right? You never want to address a student's disruption by referring to his or her grade in any way in public, because that, number one, that violates FERPA laws, but number two, it really brings a bad taste in everybody's mouth, including the other students who have witnessed it. So you want to make sure you keep those discussions private. Ask them to see you after class. If you have are displeased with someone's behavior, and sometimes it's not what they say or do. It could even be something like dressing. I know now that it's getting a little colder, we may not, you know, be faced with that, but I know in the summertime, some professors tell me, my goodness, like students, they come in with nothing on, basically, and it could be very, very distracting. So, you know, you may have to address that at some point, you know, with a student that, look, you know, we really want to, again, back to professionalism, you know, we really want to be respectful in this classroom. You want to dress, you know, professionally. You don't have to have on a suit, but you should be covered up. Cindy's comment, I like that. You give 5% of participation grade. Yeah, and it's cut down on a lot of problems. I agree. And of course, you can ask the disruptive student to leave. We're going to get to the GSU policies, but you can ask a disruptive student to leave, and if they don't, you can call security. And it's just for that course period, and then you need to address the issue with the student and or your chairperson present. So there are some policies that help cover it. I have screenshotted, is that a word, screenshot? Screenshot. Okay. I have screenshot a piece of the disruptive behavior chart. This is the GSU chart, and it shows here what to do if you are facing a disruptive student in your class. And I'll show you the links. I'll send the slideshow with the links in it so that you can click on them and get to this visual right here. But the day that the incident occurs, the instructor may issue an oral warning, require the student to leave, have security remove the student, and you can readmit the student to class. So you can do any and all of those. They request that you issue an oral warning first. You know, of course, if the student is really acting out or something, you could say, you know, can you, calm down where I can answer that question later, or can you see me after class, or something of the sort. And if it persists, you can require the student to leave the class, and if they don't move, you can call security. If they don't want to leave on their own, you can call security. The second working day after the event, if you elect to remove the student from the course, ask them to leave or whatever, you have to notify your chair, and I would definitely suggest to, write it up, even if it's an email, write down the situation, what happened, what time, what date, and send it to your chairperson. The third day, as you can see, and it goes on, the chair actually would contact the student. This is if you do not want the student to return to your class, etc. So there's actually a step-by-step chart here of what to do if you need to remove a disruptive student from your class. So we're pretty covered on this. So here are some of the policies. Excuse my error, my spelling error there, but there are policies of the Student Code of Conduct and the Disruptive Student Policy, from which I got the previous chart. So you can click on both of these links, and it will take you directly there. Kathy, I see you have a comment. If the problem is resolved by asking the student to leave for the day, do we still report it to the chair if the removal does not last? No, if you remove the student and you allow them to come back to class and you talk to the student, afterward, and it's squashed, and they understand, y'all understand each other, you don't have to involve your chair at that point. But it's a good idea to keep record of it, though, because, it could happen again with the same student, and you want to have some backup information. Yeah, documentation is really important. So you may not involve the chair at that point if you just have to, talk to a student outside of class and they understand and they, agree that they're going to come back and behave. But if it happens again, you do want to have documentation that it happened before. That's a good question, Kathy. Thanks.
This concludes the brief training for the PNT panel.
Okay, so this is not the PNT panel.
If you have any
questions. So this is not, sorry. So that was not the PNT. But that was a slide. I'm going to take it back to our email address. If you see there, has changed to CETL PC, that's CETL-PC, that's Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning at Perimeter College at GSU.edu. So please remember to use that email anytime you have any questions or concerns. Our telephone number has not changed, so you will still be able to get to me by calling. So really, that's all I had for today. I wanted to kind of have a discussion because this has been a really hot topic. I've been called out to 2 different faculty classrooms because of disruptive behavior and how to deal with it, basically. And we've had some faculty that haven't had the correct tools, I guess, and resources to be able to deal with it, and they handled it, but it wasn't in the best way, but that's what they did, and sometimes you don't know what you're going to do until it happens. So this just kind of helps give you some tools and some ideas on how to handle things before they get out of hand. Cindy, did you have a question? I saw you raised your hand.
No, I'm not sure how that got there.
Oh, well, you just took it down, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you to all of you. I'm going to stop the recording now, I think.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Y'all be safe going home, if you're not home already. Bye-bye.
Bye.